guest visitors, I'm going to call on Rob Midget for invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Thank you. If you bow your heads, please. Dearly beloved, we're gathered here. Different occasion. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. We thank you for waking us up with the breath of life in our lungs. I believe that means that you have a purpose for us today. We ask that you would, or I ask that you would guide each of us to find that purpose and to fulfill your will. Father, we thank you for the gift of Rotary. We thank you for placing the desire in our hearts to serve others over ourselves. Thank you for what it means to people throughout the world, as well as to people right here in Greensboro, the good that we do. I ask that you would bless each of us, guide us today as we leave this place, and the decisions that we face today, the challenges, the opportunities. I ask that you would guide each of us to think of you and try to do as you would have us do. Thank you for this food, the hands that prepared it, and we ask you to bless those in our families, those that we know that are struggling, maybe some that are here today. All these things I ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Stand for the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And of the things we think, say, and do,
This is truth, is fair to all concerned, will build goodwill and better friendships, will be beneficial to all concerned.
Dale, are you ready to do the Sergeant of Arms report, or do you want to get some coffee?
37 votes, 37 members here plus the speaker.
And that's it. Okay, and did I see Charlotte over here? Hey, Charlotte. Always good to have Charlotte with us. Okay, Rick Martin.
Yes, sir.
How about some birthdays or anniversaries? Do we have any of those?
We've got a few, and I think we've only had one show up for it. I think they're afraid we're going to sing to them or something like that. Justin Plummer, did he slip in?
Nope.
No.
Today is his birthday. We missed an opportunity to sing.
Wow.
Missed it by one day for Mark Reynolds. Right here. And yesterday had a big birthday, and you were what, 20... We'll put you on the spot. Happy birthday. And Mike Bowers has birthday. I don't think he's with us either today. And Michael Andrews, also not here, club anniversary. So got a lot of anniversaries of people, but they're not here to celebrate them. So Nats and Tia will say congratulations.
All right. Well done. Rick, thank you so much.
You bet.
You know what I think I may do is, it's kind of quiet in here. How about a little shot of mental espresso? Chris, how about the feud? Let's do a quick round of.
Let's do it. Let's play the feud.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to pick on today. Farley's not here today, which is a shame. So it's good comedy.
Mono's back legs.
Who are we going to pick on today?
He's got it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's it. It's the Martin family. It's the Martin family. All right, you're thinking about whether you're going to play or pass. And they're going to play the Conrad family. The Conrad family.
But he got so
Conrad.
small.
I was already under the table.
Conrad is putting his hand inside his coffee mug. He's like, I saw you anyway. All right, so we're going to play pass.
But what's the time order?
I'm the host. I asked the question. So are we going to play or pass? Just answer the question.
We play. We're playing.
All right, they're going to play.
Woo, that's good.
All right, let's hear it. Okay, so top five answers are on the board. All right, you got that, right?
Yeah.
5 answers are on the board. Name something you might do in celebration of St. Patrick's Day. Something. No, this is just you. Now, let me. How this game's played. First round, I ask you a question. You answer. No, you don't get any
family
help.
here.
Yeah,
You got
now
one family.
play along.
All right.
You've got to answer.
Yeah, well, I might have a beer.
Right.
A green
All right.
beer.
All right. You want a green beer? Number 4 on the board. Ding, 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 ding. All right, we got 4 answers left. What are we going to do?
What else we do?
Top of the morning.
That's very specific.
What is it?
It's going to say top of the morning to you. That's a big you got it just right.
All right.
All right, what are we going to do in celebration of St. Patrick's Day?
Corned beef and cabbage. Oh, that's wrong.
Good answer.
What do you say?
Corned beef and cabbage.
You know, eat corned beef and cabbage. I'm going to give you that one. It's eat green food. It's close enough. Number 2 answer. Ding, 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 ding. We got 3 answers left. We got 2 strikes.
Cabbage is green
Cabbage is
food.
correct.
All right, there we go.
Pale green.
We're going to wear some green. Ding, 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 ding. Number 1 answer. Number 1 answer. All right, we got 2 answers left on the board. This is where the wheels come off, Conrad family. Get ready. Oh, okay. Okay. He's going to buy a plane ticket and go to Ireland for St.
Nah.
He's a banker.
Fair point.
What airport?
All right, we're going to fly to Ireland.
Right.
That's all right, so we got 1 strike left. 2 answers left on the board. What are we going to do? All right. We're going to go to the parade. That is a great idea, but it's a terrible answer. All right, Conrad family, you got a chance to steal for all the tickets. 2 answers left on the board. Something you might do in celebration. You're going to do what?
Read a memory.
No. How about go to a party?
Tell us a limerick, Mike.
How about go to a party?
We're going to a party.
Hey, y'all be quiet. He's going to tell us a limerick.
He insisted on that answer.
All right. So what are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
What's your final answer?
Let's go to a party.
I think we're going to party.
2. What? All right, they're going to go to a party. Ding, 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 ding. All right, the number 3 answer was not limerick, by the way. It was listen to some Irish music.
Oh, that was. Give me those tickets. That wasn't so bad.
Hey, Chris. We had that. He was going to find out.
Now, if I win, do I Thank you very much. A lot of kissing the Barney Stone.
Kiss the Barney Stone.
What about, what happened to the Barney Stone?
That wasn't an answer.
What about the Barney Stone?
Yeah.
Let's move on to announcements now that we had a little shot of mental espresso. Matt. Hello, Matthew Foster. Let's talk about some projects.
Good morning, everybody. I wanted to thank everyone that showed up last Saturday for the one drop Saturday we had. I don't know, a long time. This 30th, we're going to, I'm going to get these camps big stuff eventually, but Victory Junction will be 30th of this month. The 20th, the following month, will be Camp Carefree. We've got some easy projects there. We can get it done. We'll probably go on a Saturday instead of a Friday, so we can maybe drum up some more participation. So we'll see. After that, it's just signing up for stuff for the fundraiser. That's kind of gotten stagnant, and I'll do a little more push on that coming up because I just don't want to keep drilling about sign-ups. So that's what we got going on. So thank you. Great.
Thank you, Matthew. And you know, the really wonderful thing about doing the Family Feud when we did, it gave Gigi a chance to pop in. I'm so glad you're here, Gigi. Let's talk a little bit about the district conference.
Oh, wow.
Quick plug on the district conference.
Oh, the district conference, I'm looking for a particular person today, and he's been hiding from me. But the district conference, April 26, 27, 28, Greenville, South Carolina. We have a terrific program planned. There are times for independent activities if you want to enjoy this beautiful city for the gourmet restaurant, miles and miles of bike trails for joggers.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very dog-friendly city. You bump into
So that's not cool.
And in addition to that, there are 2 big companies there. The BMW, of course. You can have the BMW experience, driving that car. Michelin is a French restaurant, and as a result of that, German is spoken on the street, and so is French. Makes you feel right at home. So no reason to skip that. No reason to skip that. But there's one compelling reason why we all need to go. It's because the weekend after that, the Saturday after that, is May 4th. That's when this club is having their annual fundraiser at Revolution Mills. So all you guys need to go to Greenville, make friends, sell them tickets, and bring them to Greensboro. This is the announcement for today.
I think I got a twofer. One for Guy Rabondo, and I'm sure he thanks you. There you go. Plug for the district conference. Hope everybody can go. It'll be a lot of fun. Let's see. Kelly, I'm glad you're here today. I just want to thank you. You know, there is a drawing for those who register for the district conference. It is a fantastic drawing, and you know there'll be a dozen or so people. So the pool could be pretty small. 2 pools for first-time registrants, 1 pool for seasoned registrants for a fabulous grand opening experience.
Should be one for
overnight
every
stay.
year.
Spa, golf, dinner.
Oh my goodness. All the trimmings, it'll be fantastic. That in and of itself is a great reason to sign up, but you'll have a great time if you sign up for the district conference. Okay, I think we've gotten through everything. It's probably time, Buster.
Happy dollars, baby!
Happy dollars.
Oh, Jeff has one. I'll just sit here. Go ahead.
All right, I got 2. I'll give them to you separate.
Oh, Lord.
First one is for, well, last night, Paige, my daughter plays for soccer for Grimsley. The Paige Grimsley soccer match is a big deal if you live in Greensboro. And we were underdogs. Paige is a pretty good team, and they were dominating our girls, but we somehow pulled out a 2-1 victory. Michael Hunt was there, and Gail was there, and I was there, so we also had a makeup. We got a little picture together. And my daughter plays basketball for Grimsley and soccer, and so far she's only a 10th grader, and she's been in 3 games where the Grimsley's beaten Paige. That's a big deal for us. So we're very happy about that. The second happy dollar is for Victoria Stansel. Gail's daughter plays on the JV team, and Rosa plays on the varsity, but this one's for Victoria. She scored 4 goals in the JV game, and they beat our girls 8-0. It was hard to watch, but that's for Victoria.
Get them down, step on them.
We all know that St. Patrick's Day was this past weekend, and we had the feud today. I just want to say I don't know, it was about a year ago, Kelly Carrow talked about him going to a group going to Ireland to try to bring some shows back here. And so this happy dollar is for Kelly because we don't have to travel with Tom or anybody else. We can have Ireland come to us. I think it's in the next month. I was just talking with my family about this. The International Irish Step Dancing competition is coming here. So Ireland is coming to us. They're going to be, the 14th through the 21st. It's a great opportunity, and I just think if you're into culture, if you like to experience different things, I think it's going to be a great opportunity at the Curry Convention Center. So thanks for your efforts in bringing it here.
At a judicial conference for most of this week up in Washington, D.C., and had some time between the end of the conference and lunch yesterday when I had to catch my plane, so I was able to go to not just the National Portrait Gallery, but our wonderful National Archives, and I would recommend that to all of you. There's so many wonderful, meaningful things to see in our nation's capital when you go, and of course there are a lot of school groups and things, and you go in and you see it, and there's the actual Declaration of Independence, there's the actual Constitution and Bill of Rights, and it's all sealed and everything, and I was reminded of a friend of mine here who went last year and was part of a tour, and someone on the tour asked, they said, well, has the Declaration of Independence always been here? Has it ever been taken out before? And without missing a beat, the guide said, well, there was that one time when Nicolas Cage took it. Makes you think of that. So it was a great experience.
Buster, I had an interesting makeup opportunity last week. Somebody asked if there was anybody available to move the Rotary archives from Guilford College over to High Point. And my sister, who many of you know, Cookie, volunteered me to move the archives. So on behalf of Cookie, she's boarding dogs at her house now. So if anybody wants to just bring their dog over and drop them off for Cookie, she'll be happy to
You got that on camera.
They called me too. If you would sell your company, you wouldn't have had to do it either. Okay. I'm going to have a big happy dollar. I'm going to do $20. Woo! Wow. And this is kind of a logistics thing going on. I need. You got a 20? I got a 20. All right. So, who has got on any kind of decorative socks? Today is Down Syndrome, World Down Syndrome Day, and they have a big thing called Rock the Socks. And so, do you have? Oh, Charlotte! So I need. This is gonna. I need every. So I gotta get a picture. I gotta get it because everybody that's got on, you got on some great socks. Come on now. I need a picture. Yeah. Come on, everybody get up here that's got on any kind of decorative socks.
Lewis, let me get.
Quickly, we got a.
I know.
Come on.
You take the picture.
I'll take the picture. All right. All right. Hold those cuffs up. Oh, Charlotte, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. Come on, get them in here. 1, 2, 3. There we go.
All right, thank you.
Now you need to send that out to the club.
Okay. And I just wanted to, Grandpappy was talking about getting into starting to exercise. And he said, I was thinking about running. I thought about Bobby said, I was thinking about running. Then I read in Proverbs 28:1, it says, the wicked run when no one is chasing them. So.
Oh boy, always fun to follow Buster. This morning, our guest speaker is Carrow. Hill is the CEO of Sports and Properties Inc., SPI. They're a sports entertainment and marketing firm based in Cary, North Carolina. He's developed, recruited, and hosted more than 40 Olympic and amateur sports events in Greensboro. And I'm reading just the short list now. The 2011, 15, and 20 U.S. Figure Skating Championships, which is kind of a biggie. And I just learned at the table over here that we're one of the only cities to host it 3 times in 9 years. It's really quite an accomplishment. The 2014 and 19 American Cup International Gymnastics Championships, the 2019 USA Water Polo Regional Championships, the 16 USA Masters Games, the 2016 Table Tennis Trials, 2012 and 16 U.S. Masters Swimming National Championships, the Tour de Pont, the 87 U.S. Olympic Festival. Also founded the State Games of North Carolina. That's the biggest sporting event by numbers in our state. And it's been hosted in Greensboro in our city several times. Founded both the state and national associations of sport tourism industry. Led North Carolina's largest ever event, the U.S. Olympic Festival. Also, Tom just stepped out to get a copy, I think, but we have another Order of Longleaf Pine Award winner, and also the Thad Year Award. Inducted into the National Association of Sports Commissions, Sports Tourism Hall of Fame, and the North Carolina Swimming Hall of Fame. So Hill has been around. He started his life right here in the Greensboro Children's Home, which I hope I'll hear a little bit more about. Now lives in Morrisville with his wife, Sherry Lynn, and daughter, Casey. Please welcome Hill Carrow.
Well, it's a great honor and pleasure for me to be back in front of this club. We were all reminiscing on, I think it was back before the 2011 U.S. Figure Skating Championships. That was the first time I got to speak to the Gate City Rotary, and I'm always so impressed with this group that comes out bright-eyed early in the a.m. and cranks it, and just enjoying Family Feud and those introductions. I can see that everybody comes with a great deal of enthusiasm, and I know the Greensboro community is better for it. So I'm going to talk to you today primarily about the U.S. Figure Skating Championships, which is a very important event for our community. And yes, we've been fortunate to be in the process of hosting it for the 3rd time, coming up in January of next year. I'm going to describe that, but I'm going to also talk to you before I conclude about the implications of all this and why it's really, really important for Greensboro and how everybody here could help continue the success. So the event itself is the top figure skating event in our country. It is the national championships for U.S. figure skating. There will be, this time around, and I'm going to talk about some of the changes since this event has actually changed each time we've hosted it. So I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But we are going to be hosting 190 athletes, and together with those 190 athletes, there's about 300 other officials, administrators, coaches, and all that come with them. And then this event requires around 400 volunteers. The first time we ever did it, we used almost 500, but we figured out how to get a little more efficient and work our volunteer shifts better to be able to manage the event. So we've been able to right-size that a little bit since. This event has been around a very, very long time. This will be the 106th edition of the event when it comes in 2020. And you can see it's traveled to many of the big cities in the U.S. And so people all over vie for this event. And it was just, the most recent edition was in Detroit this year in January at the brand new Little Caesars Arena, which is an unbelievable arena. As a matter of fact, Scott Johnson from the Coliseum was up there, as well as a number of staff members from the Coliseum taking a look at what the latest and greatest in arenas look like. And I will take 1 second to say that that arena is so amazing that they decided to create extra seats that up on the very top level, they literally suspended from the ceiling 2 whole sections where, you know, there could be working press and everybody. And, you know, it's just unbelievable. And they have a concourse that's designed on one side to be huge, and with 2 restaurants that are in there that are open to the outside for people on the street to be able to come in 24/7, as well as you can access them from the inside on the concourse, which is a neat idea to build more street traffic around an arena. But so that's, you know, the figure skating is at locations like that, and so we're very privileged and honored to have it come back to Greensboro, and I'll tell you why we're a big winner for them. So it's going to be 6 days this time, all right? We've had it where it's as long as 8 days. We've had it when it's 7 days the very first time. In 2015, it was 8 days, is the biggest it's ever been. They've kind of right-sized this event. It's going to focus on just the junior and senior skaters, which are the top skaters in the country. And we do it where you host the competition, practice, and fan fest all in the Coliseum complex. And I'm going to show you a diagram. There's also on your table, by the way, I came in and put a little bit early and put some flyers here that show you the layout and give you some quick facts about it. There's also a ticket order form. Right now we're selling all event ticket packages, so I have more of all that up front if you'd like before you go. So we're expecting 14 ticketed sessions during that time, starting on that Tuesday, running all the way till Sunday, and it concludes with what's called the Skating Spectacular, which is a really large exhibition of all the champions plus other skaters in a fun kind of festive format. And it's always a great conclusion to the event. They even do that same sort of skating spectacular to conclude the Olympic Games, figure skating. So it's a big tradition in the sport. There are 4 different disciplines, if you will, or divisions in the competition. The ladies competition, the men's competition, there's pairs and ice dance. And the difference between pairs and ice dance is very much like the word describes, that it is the beauty of kind of the motion of a couple doing their moves across ice. Pairs is a much more physical competition in which you can do throws and jumps. Those aren't allowed in the ice dance competition. So it's just amazing. You can see how high the partner is in this picture over here on the far right above her her partner's head. And that's the kind of activity you get in pairs, which is quite amazing. So as I mentioned, it's now junior senior levels. When we hosted this event in 2015, there were 5 levels of competition. There was juvenile, intermediate, novice, junior, and senior. And what had happened was, when we first hosted it in 2011, it was just novice, junior, and senior. All right, and the progression is juvenile, intermediate, novice, junior, senior. Senior is actually they also call it the championship level. That's the Olympic level of skaters. And so in 2015, U.S. Figure Skating previously had separate national junior championships for the younger skaters. And they got the bright idea to combine it all into the national championships. And we hosted that, and we were one of the few places in the entire country that could host the event when it was that size. It ended up being a total of 10 days, counting their practice days and everything. But what they realized at figure skating is, okay, we're going to put all the younger skaters in there, and that's, yes, it generates more hotel rooms, which is great for the community, but at the same time, for the event itself, it was more cost. The main spectators who go to that are actually, the parents or friends. It's not a big spectator part of it. So the cost-benefit ratio of having them in wasn't quite as good. So they've decided in retooling the event to focus just on their top 2 levels of skaters, which I think, at 10 days, counting the practice day last time, that's a little much anyway. And it's hard for a spectator or a prospective spectator, unless you know a fair amount about figure skating, to understand, where the key parts of the event are that you'd really like to go and see and really would appreciate. So now I think they've taken a good track, and it also helped them, spread the event probably a little bit more around the country because it's a little more manageable size, which, that's not necessarily all good news for us because there'll be more competition for it, I think, going forward. And that's why this event in 2020 is very, very important, because this might be the last time that we get to host it for a while, and we should take full advantage of that, number one, and in a minute I'll explain why there are other reasons why we should support that as well. So just about anybody you've ever heard of in figure skating has been one of the top competitors at this event. National champions have gone on to the Olympic Games, everybody from Kristi Yamaguchi to Evan Lysacek, Nancy Kerrigan, etc. So, all the names have to come. And the reason why that is because this event every year, no matter what year it is either a qualification to go to the World Championships in skating or to the Olympic Games, or both. And because the World Championships is held every year, even in the Olympic year. And so for any skater who's at their top of their game, they're going to go to the national championships, or else they can't go to the premier international events after that. So that's really good for us because it guarantees that we're going to get the very best skaters. For our community, look, we get tremendous national and even international exposure. We've already sold ticket packages to people in 40 states, and I've sold 6 packages to people in Japan. Japan figure skating is huge. We usually get 2 or 3 foreign countries represented in terms of our spectator base for this event. So it's a great visitor event for the community as well, and then you got all this media exposure that goes on top of it. So figure skating is the #1 Winter Olympic sport when it comes to popularity, audience, TV exposure. In the last Olympic Games, Pyeongchang last year, NBC provided over 1,000 hours of coverage, counting their internet streaming service, their network broadcasts, their cable broadcasts, etc. So it's by far, it blows away every other winter sport in terms of that. The fan base is 75% women, 25% men. And so any of you, we were speaking earlier, and one of your members said, oh, my grandmother's been wanting to go to this event for a long time. I really need to take her this year. You'll be a fan favorite at home if you offer to take your bride, your significant other to this event, because it is highly popular and the women love it and they're a great audience. But I promise you, as a male, And, you know, I first got into this, and I knew figure skating well, and I've been involved around it. But when you walk in and see the presentation of a 200-foot by 85-foot sheet of ice that fills the entire Greensboro Coliseum, just that alone, versus a 50-foot by 94-foot basketball court, you'll be impressed just how it all sets up. Much less when you see what these folks do on the ice. If you've ever tried, you've gone to the little downtown rink and tried to skate a little bit, you'll appreciate the athleticism and the amazing talent of these athletes. So it's for everybody. This is a sport that gets a lot of coverage in magazines and media all over the world. The governing body is U.S. Figure Skating. They're based in Colorado Springs. They are approaching about 200,000 members. They're one of the larger governing bodies in the entire U.S. And we work very closely with them. They're the event owner, so we're really, as the host committee, putting this event on for them. All right, in 2011, when we hosted this event, it was a really big success in our community and for the sport and for amateur and Olympic sports events in general. Between the Fan Fest, the practice ice, which we allow anybody to come in for free, the Fan Fest is free. We had turnstiles at all those, plus the competition, which had over 100,000 attendees itself, generated a total attendance for the event of 165,000. That still is the record for any sports event here in the area, as well as at the Coliseum all the time. These are some of the crowds at the Fan Fest, which we do in what's called the West Wing of the Coliseum Special Events Center. We even put a little mini sheet of ice in there to do exhibitions, to represent awards, and where you can get up close and personal with the skaters. These are some of our crowds for the event. This was economic impacts that were measured by two outside independent parties. The first is the actual economic impact, which is over 27 million. And then they also measured all that media exposure I was talking about in a separate analysis, and that came out to over $24 million as well. It's an award-winning event from the way we've been able to host it in Greensboro. We actually, in the 2015 edition, after that, we were nominated for and actually won the sports event of the year. And while you think, well, that's not that big a deal, we beat out the Super Bowl, the first edition of the NCAA college playoffs, and the Women's World Cup to be named Event of the Year. It's the highest award in the sports event industry in America, so it was a really, really big deal. We won other awards to go along with that. And that's a tribute to the venue and the people here in Greensboro, our great volunteers and all, to help make that such a success. So here's the layout I was talking about. So the main competition is obviously over in the Coliseum itself. We built an entire 200 by 85 NHL-sized sheet of ice in the east wing of the Special Events Center. It's where they practice, and that's completely open to the public throughout the process for free. And then the Fan Fest is over on the west wing, as I mentioned before. You got to see a little bit about the setup of that, and we build that third sheet of ice, which is just a little mini sheet in there. And it really makes for a great critical mass for the event, and people really love it. And one of the reasons we've gotten it 3 times in 9 years is because that is a fantastic setup. Nobody can duplicate it. In Detroit this year, the second rink was actually 45 minutes away, where they had some of the practice and competition, and that's what you get even in San Jose and some of those other cities you saw that have been recent host cities. And so Greensboro has an unmatched setup for them, and all the skaters, coaches, and officials really love that. Are we the glamour of a Boston? No, but our friendly volunteers, the convenient setup, and all the things that we have to bring to the table obviously are a winning formula, or they wouldn't be back the way they are. Okay, host hotels. Tony's here. Thank you, Tony. Tony hosted me here last night, so I'd be here bright and early. As a matter of fact, he set the alarm early for me last night to make sure I was down here ready to go. And but we thank these properties. We thank these properties for being our host hotels. This event has generated so far in the first two editions 7,000 and 8,000 hotel room nights respectively. 8,000 and 9,000 respectively. We're thinking it's going to be about 7,000 this time because of just slightly downsizing the event. But that's still a really nice number for our community and will generate lots of impacts. We also have to do a lot of things to make this event work. This is one of the only events. Now, there's a shuttle to go to the Wyndham, obviously, and people pay for it and all, and we had that same situation for here. It's one of the few events where spectators, the golf course is one thing. It's not like the Coliseum doesn't have plenty of parking. And so going out to the golf tournament, you got to have a shuttle because there's not endless parking out at Sedgefield. However, there's plenty of parking at the Coliseum, and the spectators for this event are so spoiled they're used to having a shuttle and paying for it even if it's only from the Sheraton. So we actually have to do two transportation systems for this, one for all the credentialed folks, one for the spectators, and so it's quite an extensive operation. And the Coliseum still does just fine on parking, lots of attendance there. We solicit volunteers in a lot of different areas. I've got Kelly Carrow pegged for hair and makeup. The good news is we've got the members of the figure skating clubs who specialize in some of these areas come from across North Carolina and actually South Carolina too to help us fill all these volunteer roles. And they love it, and that really helps us as well. Tickets. All right, so right now, the way you do tickets is very similar to the way the Grasshoppers and others do them, or the Swarm, where you try to sell your season tickets first, or the equivalent of those. Then you go to your kind of mini packages, if you will, and then you finally put individual tickets on sale. So right now, we have the equivalent of the season tickets. They're called all event packages. So they cover all 6 days and every event of the championships, including the Skating Spectacular. For the first time, typically they made the Skating Spectacular be separate, and this time we've included them in the packages. We've right-sized the pricing, so they're less in price than previous, and they're on sale now. It's a great way to get the best seats for the event. We'll put weekend packages on sale probably in May. We're trying to figure out a whole new schedule because they only announced us at the end of November, almost December. That means we're 10 months behind on everything because they usually give you 2 years to do this event. Now, I feel like they entrusted us because we have the experience, but still, we're running like a sprint all the way to the finish line, and we're trying to figure out, when's the best time to go on sale with each of those. Individual tickets, no matter what, will go on sale at the end of September because that's when all the skaters have to be registered by then for the championships. They'll know who the skaters are, they'll know how to set up all the sessions, and Figure Skating will announce the final schedule and the skaters, and individual tickets will go on sale at that point in time. But we also have group sales with discounts, school programs, and corporate sales as well, sponsors. We also cannot do this event without major sponsorship support. This is an almost $3.5 million event. So it requires a lot, and about $1 million of that is our goal for ticket sales, which is quite substantial in and of itself. But the rest has to come from sponsorship. Not all cash. Some is a significant portion is also in kind. Like our media partners provide a lot of in kind advertising support and all. But BB&T, the Coliseum Complex, the Greensboro Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Cone Health right now are at the top of our sponsor heap. But by the end of everything, hopefully we'll have about 30 sponsors to help make this happen. And it comes from all across the community. It comes from beyond the Greensboro community. And so across the state, I just met with the state legislature 2 days ago. They're actually going to file a bill in support of it, similar to the way they have for the music festival. And we'll see how that goes. You never know. But in the past, the state, the first time around, has supported this event. So hopefully they'll do it again because it is a big, big deal. And it has a lot of implications beyond the event itself. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. Okay, so we hosted this event for the first time ever in 2011. I actually bid for it to be here in 2010. We did not win that bid. We kept at it. We were persistent. We kept showing, what we had to offer in terms of our convenience setup. And the thing that probably made the biggest difference is it turns out the record of all time of attendance at an event was in 2010 in Spokane, Washington, where they hosted the event. And that was the first time figure skating had ever gone to a more medium-sized community. They've been in New York City many times, they've been in Boston, they've been in the San Francisco Bay Area, Los Angeles. You know, figure skating in general has kind of migrated their biggest events to some of the biggest cities. And they took kind of a flyer with Spokane, and Spokane it was their Super Bowl. The whole city turned out, it was fantastic. It helped us the next year, because we had already been announced for the next year. And to this day, we still have people who already have bought tickets to this event, who are in Spokane, who got so excited about it, they've been followers of the event all around the country ever since. So that was a great experiment for U.S. figure skating, opened the door for us, and the rest is a little bit history. But here's what the implications are. By hosting this premier event, you know, the top event in the top Winter Olympic sport, it has opened the doors to more things for Greensboro than Greensboro probably would have ever thought. Even I would have thought, even though I worked for the U.S. Olympic Committee and I have a lot of connections there, and I've been really pleasantly surprised at how it has laid the groundwork for so much more, particularly gymnastics. We have hosted, and that's what this slide is about, gymnastics has a similar demographic. It's mostly followed by women and mostly moms and all. And because of that crossover, once I'd been trying to get some of the top gymnastics events here for years. And once they saw that figure skating was here and was successful, then and only then did the door open in gymnastics. And since that time, we've hosted 2 of their international championships, the most recent being just a few weeks ago. 2 of their U.S. national championships, the most recent event was last summer, and 3 of their junior national championships, 2 of which were just a few weeks ago. And so we've also hosted we've hosted Olympic trials and multi-sport competitions as a result. And so, and when you combine that, combine that with the Greensboro Aquatic Center, which it came online also in 2011, and in which I put the very first event in there, the high performance camp for adult swimmers, while they were still hammering and sawing and welding that thing together. I mean, 2011 is kind of a watershed year with the figure skating and the Aquatic Center coming online to what's happened in Greensboro with major Olympic and amateur sports events. So we want to keep that going, and that's why this event is so important. We can't say, hey, we've already done it a couple times, the third time's irrelevant. What does it matter? You know, we're already good to go. And they might take it around to some other cities, but we need to show that we're still really good at it because it has implications across a lot of other sports and major events that can be fantastic here in the future. And just to give you an idea, because of this, I've already got, this is just Hill. You know, the Coliseum, other sports organizations, the Wyndham organization, and others, the Sports Foundation here, all are great at bringing events. But just the ones I'm involved with, I already have 2 national championship swim meets coming next year. I have a national championship track and field competition. I have an Eastern Regional Water Polo Championships coming here. And then in 21, I've got similar events lined up already. So that has been a big deal, and that's why this event is important. And this is why we're finishing up with, how can I help? All right, so we still need sponsors. If you have a company or a business relationship that might be interested in that, we have different packages of all sizes to fit, hopefully, everybody's budget. Purchase tickets, bring family, bring friends, get the word out about it, sign up to be a volunteer. There's lots of ways to help make this event successful. And I promise you, you'll enjoy the event. We have yet to have, we do surveys of everybody afterwards, and we have not ever had a complaint from anybody who's worked on this event, been a sponsor of the event, or supported the event in any other way. They all go, that was one of the great experiences I ever had. I'm so glad I did it, and I promise you, you'll feel the same way. Okay, why is that important? Success breeds success. That's what I was just talking about, the future of additional events here. This is a kind of a, cornerstone of that. And that's why this is a big, big deal. And, you know, Rotarians, you guys are like a cornerstone of the community. Look at all the projects you're working on right now and that you've done over the years. So you really know how to get things done and really showcase our community and make it successful. You know, so you would be hopefully an essential part of helping this momentum that we've got in Olympic and amateur sports and economic impacts here continue well into the future. And this is a part of it. All right, I'll be glad to take
Let's do two quick questions,
questions.
and I'll start that off.